Man had two wives. One was quiet, the other, dangerous. One woman prayed for a child. The other prayed the child would never live. When joy finally came, death followed with quiet feet. She took him. I saw her. A house filled with riches became a house filled with secrets. And justice slept for too long. Sometimes. The devil lives in the same house you serve dinner.
Every wall had heard Clara's curses. Every floor had caught Alicia's tears. And Mr. Bernard. He moved through it all like a man too rich to notice the storm he had created. It was Sunday morning. The sun was already climbing, casting golden light on the city rooftops. But inside the Bernard household, darkness ruled. Alicia stood at the sink in the kitchen, her hands deep in soapy water. Steam rose from the pot she scrubbed, mixing with the salt of her silent crying. Behind her, Clara watched like a hawk, arms folded, eyes sharp. You were here before me, Clara said coldly. But I am the real wife. Alicia didn't turn. She didn't answer. Her silence was her only defense now. She had once been the jewel of Mr. Bernard's eye. His first wife, his elegant bride. But after years without a child, her crown had slipped. And Clara, with her sharp tongue and quick charm, had taken her place. But what Clara didn't know, what no one in that house could imagine, was that the quiet woman by the sink would one day become fire. Mr. Bernard was a man of power and pride. He owned 4 hotels in the city, drove the kind of cars that turned heads, and wore suits that still smelled of Europe. To the world he was a man who had everything. But the truth lived behind closed doors. He had 2 wives. Alicia was the first, beautiful, soft-spoken, gentle like falling rain. And Clara, the second, young, fierce, with eyes like fire and a mouth that never slept. He had married Clara 2 years after Alicia failed to give him a child. At first, he called it tradition. He told Alicia gently, "My love, don't be angry. A man must plant seed. You know how our people are." But Alicia knew. She had seen it coming. Still she stayed. She stayed because love is a hard thing to bury, even when it's dying. Clara moved into the house like a storm. Her clothes were loud. Her perfume stronger than truth. She walked with her head high and her heart full of competition. From the moment she stepped in, she made it her mission to remind Alicia of what she wasn't. A mother. "Oh, I'm just arranging my baby's future room," Clara would say loudly as she passed Alicia in the hallway. "You know, these things need planning. Some women wouldn't understand." Each word was like a slap. But Alicia took it in silence. At night, she knelt beside her bed, holding her stomach, whispering prayers that cracked her voice. "God, if you still see me, please. Just one child. Just one." One morning, Clara came dancing into the living room. She wore a bright yellow gown and carried a white paper in her hand like it was gold. "I'm pregnant," she screamed. "Bernard, I'm pregnant." Mr. Bernard dropped his newspaper. His face broke into a wide smile, and for the first time in months, he kissed her on the forehead. Alicia stood in the corner, holding a tray of tea. She didn't drop it. She didn't cry. She just stood there, still as stone. From that moment the house changed. Clara became the queen. She spoke, everyone listened. She snapped her fingers, the staff ran. She even stopped doing chores, saying, "I'm carrying the air. I cannot bend like ordinary women." Mr. Bernard nodded to everything. He gave her soft chairs, massages, and even hired a driver just for her. And Alicia, she was forgotten. Left to mop the floors, wash the clothes, serve food like a maid in her own home. The days crawled by. Alicia's world became small, just her Bible, her tears, and the walls that never spoke back. Then one night Clara screamed. It was the kind of scream that wakes even the dead. Everyone rushed out of their rooms, Mr. Bernard, the guards, even the cook. Clara was on the floor, clutching her stomach, crying like her soul had shattered. The doctor came in a rush. When he finished, he shook his head slowly. "I'm sorry," he said. "She lost the baby." Clara wailed. She hit the ground. She threw things. She shouted at God, at Alicia, at fate. Mr. Bernard tried to comfort her, but it didn't work. From that night, Clara became someone else. Shadow. Bitter. Broken. 3 days passed. The house stayed quiet. Even the air felt heavy. Then something strange happened. Alicia fainted in the kitchen. When she woke up, she was in a hospital bed. Mr. Bernard stood beside her, wide-eyed. A nurse smiled beside him. "You are pregnant, Ma," the nurse said. Alicia blinked. "Me?" "Yes," the nurse nodded. "Almost 2 months now." Mr. Bernard's face changed. Softened, warmed. For the first time in years, he held Alicia's hand. When they got home, he announced it to the house. "My first wife is carrying my child," he said proudly. "The true heir is coming." The staff clapped. Clara stood at the top of the stairs, frozen. That night she didn't eat. And the next morning her eyes had changed. They were no longer sad. They were sharp again. But this time sharper than before. As Alicia's belly grew, Clara's anger did too. She threw small insults, made little jokes, slammed doors, burned Alicia's clothes by mistake. But Mr. Bernard didn't notice. He was too busy taking care of Alicia, buying her fruits, calling doctors, praying with her every night. One night, Clara stood outside Alicia's room and whispered through the door. "Your baby won't survive," she hissed. "I swear on my pain. He won't." Alicia heard it. She didn't open the door. She placed her hand on her belly and whispered a stronger prayer. "God, keep him. Keep him from evil. Keep him from her." 9 months passed. And one morning, with the cry of a new baby boy, joy returned. Mr. Bernard cried. He lifted his son and shouted to the heavens, "This is my son. This is my heir." The house came alive with celebration. Even neighbors came with gifts. Alicia sat in bed, holding her son, glowing like sunrise. Her face was peace. Her heart full. Clara didn't enter the room. She watched from the hallway, her fingers curled tight around the doorframe. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She just stared, and began to plan. The baby's cry echoed through the house like music. His name was Emmanuel. Alicia chose it after reading a verse in her Bible. "God with us." That's what Emmanuel meant. It was the name she whispered in the dark, the name she sang in the kitchen, the name she wrapped in soft cloth and laid gently beside her every night. But to Clara, the name sounded like thunder. Every time the baby cried, Clara flinched. Every time Mr. Bernard laughed, holding his son, Clara's heart cracked a little more. The joy in the house lit up every room, but not hers. Her room remained cold, her curtains drawn, her prayers silent. And one night, Clara whispered the truth to herself. "That child stole everything from me." A week after the naming ceremony, Clara packed her bags. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't even tell Mr. Bernard she was leaving. She simply walked out, past the staff, past the baby, past Alicia. Like a woman walking away from a fire she still planned to return and finish. Mr. Bernard didn't stop her. He didn't even call. At first, Alicia felt a strange relief. The house was quiet. The air was soft again. She could breathe. But deep in her heart, something didn't feel right. Clara was too quiet. To come. And Alicia knew this was not the end. It was only the silence before the storm. Weeks passed. Emmanuel grew stronger. He smiled. Likud. He kicked his tiny feet and gripped Alicia's finger like he never wanted to let go. Every day he looked more like his father. And Mr. Bernard was proud beyond words. He bought new clothes for the boy, built a nursery with toys from Dubai, and told anyone who would listen, "This is the child I waited for. No harm must come near him." But harm doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it comes with a familiar face. One evening, just as the sun began to set, Clara returned. She stood at the gate like a shadow come home. The guard was too afraid to stop her. She wore a long black dress and dark glasses. Her face looked thinner, her voice colder. "I'm still his wife," she said softly. Mr. Bernard welcomed her back, reluctantly. "You've suffered enough," he told her. Let's try peace. But peace was never her goal. Not anymore. The first week she acted calm. She said nothing about the baby. She didn't speak to Alicia. She cooked her own food and stayed in her room most of the time. But every night, her door stayed open just enough to hear Emmanuel's cries. Every morning, she stood at the top of the stairs, watching Alicia walk by with the baby in her arms. And one afternoon, Clara cornered the housemaid in the laundry room. "I want something from you," she said. The girl trembled. "Madam, what is it?" Clara smiled. But it wasn't a kind smile. "You'll see. Just watch her. Report everything. Every movement. Every visitor. Every prayer she prays. And don't worry, I reward loyalty." From that day Alicia was being watched. And she didn't even know. Began slowly. Strange whispers in the kitchen. Cold eyes from the staff. One morning Emmanuel's bottle of milk smelled strange. Alicia sniffed it, frowning. It had a bitter, burning smell. She threw it away and made a new one. When she asked the housemaid, the girl shrugged. "Maybe the milk is bad, Ma." But Alicia knew better. Her instincts screamed louder than reason. That night she locked the baby's door. And she prayed longer than usual. Clara tried again. One evening, as Alicia sat in the garden rocking Emmanuel to sleep, Clara walked over and crouched beside her. The two women hadn't spoken in weeks. "You look tired," Clara said, her voice low. Alicia said nothing. "I know I've hurt you," Clara continued, her tone almost sweet. "But I want to make peace for the child's sake. May I carry him?" Alicia stared at her. Something in her heart refused. She held the baby tighter. "Not now. He just fell asleep." Clara's eyes flashed, but she smiled. "Of course. Another time." Then she stood up and walked away. But behind that smile, fire was rising. Later that night, Alicia told Mr. Bernard what had happened. "She wants to carry him now," she said, trembling. "After everything she's done." Mr. Bernard rubbed his eyes. "Maybe she's trying. Let her. We can't keep living like this." Alicia stared at him, her heart dropping. "You don't see it, do you? She's waiting. She's planning something." He sighed. "You're overthinking. Clara is many things, but she won't harm a child. She knows better." Alicia wanted to scream, but she didn't. She only whispered under her breath, "You'll see. One day you'll see." The following week, Clara vanished again. No one saw her leave. No note. No message. Nothing. Mr. Bernard shrugged it off. "Maybe she's tired of all this. Let her go." But Alicia's spirit was uneasy. She checked every window, locked every door, slept with the baby beside her. And she kept one knife under her pillow, just in case. Her sleep became shallow. Her smiles rare. She started dreaming of snakes under her bed. She began hearing voices whisper her name when no one was around. The house that had once been joyful now felt haunted. Then came the final straw. One morning, Alicia found black powder sprinkled across her doorstep. It was shaped in a circle with a red feather in the center. She gasped. The housemaid saw it too and screamed. "What is this?" Alicia cried, stepping back. The girl fell to her knees. "It's a curse sign, Ma. I've seen it in the village." Mr. Bernard came running. He saw it and froze. Alicia turned to him, her voice breaking. "Now do you believe me? She wants my baby dead." Mr. Bernard called a prophet. The man came, prayed, and burned the powder. But even after the smoke cleared, Alicia knew the danger wasn't gone. It was only beginning. Clara returned again. This time she didn't smile. She didn't pretend. She walked into Alicia's room uninvited. "You think you've won, don't you?" she said, eyes wide, voice shaking. Alicia stood protectively in front of the baby's crib. "Clara, please. This child is innocent." Clara pointed a shaking finger. "That child cost me everything. My pride. My joy. My place in this house." Alicia's hands trembled. "You're not well. Please leave." But Clara stepped closer, her eyes mad with rage. "He won't live to take my place. I swear it." Mr. Bernard walked in just in time. "Enough," he barked. "Clara, get out." Clara looked at him like a stranger. Then she laughed. "Don't worry. I won't touch him now." She walked out slowly. But her words remained, like poison in the air. From that night, Alicia never left Emmanuel alone, not even for a second. She stopped sleeping deeply. She barely ate. She lived like a soldier in war, always watching, always waiting. And one evening, as the moon hung like a pale eye in the sky, she whispered into her baby's ear, "Your mother will protect you, even if it costs me everything." She didn't know the cost would come so soon. The day before it happened, everything was too quiet. The birds outside didn't sing. The city traffic seemed far away. Even little Emmanuel, usually full of soft cries and giggles, lay still on Alicia's chest, blinking slowly, as if he too could feel the weight in the air. Alicia felt it in her bones. Something was coming. She sat in the nursery, rocking gently in the wooden chair, humming softly, though her voice cracked with fear. The room smelled like baby powder and eucalyptus oil. Light streamed in from the window, but still the air felt heavy like rain waiting to fall. Clara had returned for the last time. This time she came in the middle of the night. She didn't knock. She didn't speak to anyone. She simply walked into her room and locked the door behind her. The next morning she greeted no one. She cooked no food. She moved like a ghost. But her eyes burned with something Alicia had never seen before. Not anger. Not sadness. Pure revenge. Mr. Bernard didn't notice. Or maybe he didn't want to. He focused on work again. He left early, came home late, kissed Alicia on the cheek and went straight to bed. Alicia begged him. "Talk to her. She's not okay." He shook his head. "Clara will heal in her own time. Don't provoke her." Alicia almost laughed. Provoke her. She was the one under attack. She was the one carrying fear like a baby of its own. Alicia started sleeping in Emmanuel's room. She kept the door locked, the light on, the Bible open beside her bed. She would wake every 2 hours just to check if the baby was breathing. Sometimes she would cry quietly in the corner, rocking herself, whispering scriptures between chattering teeth. It wasn't just fear. It was knowing that someone in your own house was waiting to hurt your child. Clara stopped pretending. She would walk past Alicia and mutter, "The devil gives gifts that don't last." One time she poured dirty water near Emmanuel's crib and said, "Oops." Another night, she placed a dead lizard beside Alicia's Bible and walked away smiling. Every move was louder than the last. But Mr. Bernard still said, "Ignore her." So Alicia prepared alone. She called her pastor. He came and prayed. He poured anointing oil on the doors. He told her, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." She nodded, but she didn't feel safe. Because weapons don't always look like guns. Sometimes they wear red lipstick and live 2 rooms away. The housemaid quit that week. She left without notice. When asked why, she only said, "I can't live in a place where a woman talks to mirrors and laughs alone at midnight." Mr. Bernard scoffed. "That girl watches too many horror films." But Alicia believed her. She had also heard things. Doors opening without reason. Footsteps in the hallway when everyone was asleep. Her name whispered in her dreams. She knew Clara was doing things in secret. Dangerous things. But she didn't have proof. And in Mr. Bernard's world, truth was only real if it wore a suit and carried evidence. Then came the day that broke everything. It began like any other. Alicia woke early, fed Emmanuel, bathed him gently with warm water and his favorite sponge, dressed him in the blue onesie that read "Mama's Boy." She kissed his forehead, whispered her usual prayer, "Live long, my son. Grow tall. May no evil reach you." Then she left the room for a few minutes to boil water for his bottle. Just a few minutes. When she came back, the crib was empty. At first, she thought he had rolled over onto the bed. He checked the floor. Nothing. He screamed. "Someone help me." The staff ran in. Mr. Bernard came rushing. Doors flew open. They searched the house. Every room. Every cupboard. Every corner. No baby. No sign. Only Clara, sitting calmly in the living room, brushing her hair. Alicia grabbed her by the arm. "Where is he? Where is my baby?" Clara smiled slowly, her eyes too calm. "Maybe the wind took him." Alicia slapped her. Hard. Clara didn't even flinch. She only stood and whispered, "Be careful. Some mothers never find their children again." Mr. Bernard dragged Alicia away. "Let's call the police. Let's search the compound. He must be somewhere." But Alicia knew. She felt it in her soul. Emmanuel was gone. The search lasted 2 hours. Then a gardener screamed. They found him near the back fence. In a small pit under the old mango tree. Wrapped in a torn piece of white cloth. Ill. Lifeless. Cold. Alicia ran to him. She dropped to her knees. Her scream tore through the air like a knife. She pulled him into her arms, shaking, crying, begging. "Wake up, baby. Please. It's Mama. Wake up." But Emmanuel didn't wake up. He never would again. Mr. Bernard broke. He cried like a child, falling to the ground beside them, hands in his hair, face in the dust. The neighbors gathered. Everyone stared in horror. The police came, took pictures, questions, but no one had seen anything. No one could say how a baby ended up dead in the backyard. Alicia tried to speak. "It's Clara. It's her. She took him." But Clara cried too. She screamed louder than everyone else. She held her chest and shouted, "God, why? Why would someone do this?" And the crowd believed her. Because she cried better. Because she was loud. Because no one saw her hand. Only one person had seen something. And they weren't ready to speak. Not yet. That night the house went dark. No one slept. Alicia held Emmanuel's tiny body in her arms until the sun came. Her voice was gone. Her eyes red and swollen. And her soul. It had turned into something else. Something sharper. Colder. She had lost everything. Now she wanted one thing back. Justice. The house was silent. Not the kind of silence that brings peace. The kind that swallows voices. That grips the air like cold hands around the throat. That follows death. Emmanuel's body was buried 3 days later. Alicia didn't cry at the funeral. She didn't scream. She didn't speak. She stood beside the small white coffin in a plain blue dress, holding a Bible she didn't open, her eyes empty. Mr. Bernard cried beside her. But Alicia, she had already cried everything inside her. Now there was only silence and rage. The neighbors whispered. The staff avoided eye contact. The police called it a tragic accident. No fingerprints. No bruises. No camera. No case. No justice. Clara played her part well. She wore black every day. She sobbed loudly at the funeral. She even posted pictures online with the caption, "Rest well, little angel. You didn't deserve this world." But behind closed doors, Alicia heard her laughing. Laughing with the housemaid in the kitchen. Giggling at her phone screen. Even humming. Humming. Like a woman who had finally cleaned the dirt off her mirror. Alicia stopped eating. She walked like a ghost. Her skin became pale. Her hair began to fall. Mr. Bernard begged her. "Please eat something. Come back to life." She looked at him slowly and said, "I died with my son." She stopped talking after that. Except to God. And God wasn't answering. Not yet. One night, she sat on Emmanuel's empty crib. She held the little socks he never wore. The blue cap he never grew into. And whispered, "I won't let her rest. I swear it." She opened her Bible. Her hand shook as she flipped the pages. The words blurred behind tears. Then she saw a verse she hadn't noticed before. "The Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all who wait for him." Isaiah 30 verse 18. She folded the page, stood up, and for the first time in weeks, she made a plan. She went to the police again. "I want the case reopened," she said, voice steady but low. The officer sighed. "Madam, we understand your pain." "No, you don't," she snapped. "You didn't carry him. You didn't bury him." The officer looked uncomfortable. "There's no evidence. No witness. We can't hold a woman for crying louder than others." Alicia stood slowly. "Then I'll find the evidence. I'll find the witness. And I'll come back." She walked out. But something in her had changed. She no longer looked broken. She looked dangerous. She started watching Clara, tracking her movements, following her footsteps in the house. She saw how Clara never went near the nursery again, how she started locking her door, how she often sat alone in the backyard staring at the mango tree. Clara was hiding something, but Alicia didn't know what, yet. So she waited, she watched, and she prayed, not like before, this time not for blessings, but for truth. Then one rainy evening someone knocked at the gate. The houseboy opened the door. A small boy stood there, dripping wet, shaking. "I want to speak to Madame Alicia," he said. His name was Musa. He was 10. The gardener's son. His eyes were wide, his voice low. Alicia came down to meet him. He looked around nervously and whispered, "I saw something that night. The night your baby died." Her heart stopped. She knelt in front of him. "Tell me, please." He looked at her. "I was hiding near the mango tree. I was playing with my torchlight. I saw Auntie Clara come out with something in her arms. I thought it was a doll." She looked around. Then she went behind the fence and dug a hole. "When she left, I went to see. It wasn't a doll. It was your baby." Alicia froze. Every breath felt like knives. "You're sure?" she whispered. Musa nodded. "I didn't tell anyone because she told me if I spoke, I'd die like him." Alicia hugged him, holding back a scream. "Thank you. You did well. Go home now." She stood up, her body trembling, her spirit roaring. She finally had the key. The truth had a witness. She didn't rush to the police this time. Well, she planned it. She recorded Musa's full confession. She got the gardener, his father, to write a sworn statement. She took pictures of the pit. Then she went to the one place Clara couldn't lie, church. It was Sunday. The building was packed. Mr. Bernard sat in front, adjusting his tie, trying to look like a man who hadn't buried his only son. Clara wore black lace, face painted with fake sorrow. Alicia walked in quietly. She waited until the pastor said, "Does anyone have a testimony?" Then she stood up. "Please," she said. "I have something to share." Everyone turned. The microphone trembled in her hands. "I was the mother of Emmanuel, the child this house buried last month." Tears, whispers. She continued. "I was also the victim of a murder. Not my death, but my son's." The pastor moved forward. "Sister Alicia, this is not the time." She looked at him. "It's the perfect time." She pulled out her phone, played the recording. Musa's voice filled the church. By the time it ended, no one moved. Even Clara's breathing stopped. Clara tried to run, but the ushers grabbed her. The police were called. She screamed, lied, begged. But the evidence was too loud. She was arrested at the altar. Mr. Bernard fell to his knees. His world shattered. He had let a killer sleep in his house. And he had ignored the only woman who saw it coming. That night, Alicia sat in Emmanuel's room. The crib was still empty. The walls still quiet. But something had returned to her. No joy. Not yet. Peace. And a promise. Justice had come. Clara sat in a small prison cell, her back against the wall, her eyes fixed on the cold metal bars. She had not cried since the day they dragged her from the church altar. Not when they cuffed her hands. Not when they stripped her of her wig and designer lace. Not even when she saw her own face on the news. The tears had dried up long ago. Now, all she had was silence, and the memory of that night. The baby's cry. The feel of his tiny body in her arms. Pit. The sound of soil covering his last breath. She closed her eyes and tried to sleep. But even behind her eyelids she saw him. Every night. Manuel. The trial came quickly. The evidence was loud. Musa testified, trembling but brave. The whole courtroom leaned forward when he told his story. Alicia sat in the front row, quiet, firm, dressed in white. Mr. Bernard sat beside her. But he didn't hold her hand. He hadn't earned that anymore. Clara tried to lie again. She cried. She blamed depression. She blamed jealousy. She even blamed Alicia. But the judge saw through it. And after 2 weeks of tears, questions, and testimonies, Clara was sentenced to life in prison. No parole. No mercy. Just silence. The house changed. The day Clara went to prison, Mr. Bernard came home and sat at the dining table for hours. He didn't speak. He didn't eat. He just stared at the empty chair across from him, the chair Clara used to sit in. And beside him, another chair remained empty too. The baby's high chair. Alicia watched him quietly. She didn't hate him, but she no longer loved him the same way. Love had become something else now. Something wiser. Harder. She packed her bags the next day. I can't stay, she said softly, standing at the front door. Mr. Bernard looked at her with tired eyes. Where will you go? Somewhere with peace, she said. I deserve that now. He reached out to touch her arm. I failed you. She nodded. Yes, but I forgive you. He lowered his hand. She stepped outside. And for the first time in years, she felt the sun on her skin without fear. She moved into a small flat in a quiet part of the city. No mansion. No marble floors. Just peace. She started volunteering at a home for single mothers. She held their babies with soft hands. She told them, "You are enough." And when they cried, she cried too. Not for Emmanuel anymore, but for every woman who had been forgotten, blamed, or broken. One day Musa came to visit. He brought her a small plant in a pot. I grew it myself, he said shyly. Alicia smiled. It's beautiful. He looked at her. Why did you thank me in court? I didn't do anything big. She knelt to his level. You did the bravest thing. You told the truth when everyone else stayed quiet. That saved more than just me. That saved my soul. He smiled, his young face full of light. And she knew then the world still had good people, even if they came in small packages. Clara rotted in prison. She refused visitors. She sat alone, scribbling strange words into a journal no one was allowed to read. Her beauty faded. Her name was forgotten. She had destroyed herself with envy. And now, even the air refused to remember her. Mr. Bernard lived with regret. He sold the big house. He gave the money to charity in Emmanuel's name. He visited children's hospitals and bought food for the poor. But peace never returned to him. He carried the sound of Emmanuel's cry in his head until the day he died. It never left. 'Cause some mistakes scream forever. As for Alicia, she became a quiet legend. People told her story in hushed tones. The woman who lost her child, but never lost herself. She wrote a book titled The Cry Beneath the Mango Tree. It became a bestseller. She traveled. She spoke at women's conferences. She prayed with widows. And every year on Emmanuel's birthday, she lit a candle and placed it by a mango tree outside her flat. She would smile gently and whisper, I still hear you. I always will. And that was how the story ended. Not with a happy dance. Not with a wedding or a miracle. But with truth. With healing. With justice served. And the world remembering one simple thing. Sometimes the quiet ones carry the loudest fire. If you have not subscribed to my channel, you might not hear my voice again. But if you are, then you are growing every day. Check my page for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.